Ho ho! Happy holidays, everyone! It's me, Santa Nate. And this holiday season, we've got a special treat for you. Edenverse Volume 1 is on sale on Amazon.com for 99 cents. Buy 5 copies for the price of 1! Ho 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 ho!
Give them to someone you hate.
You know what, Ben?
What?
You can do the intro if you want. I'm willing to let you end us and end the year / begin the next year. Floor is yours.
What else is there to say to sum up the end of our year of podcasting? But Words About Books is a poorly spoken podcast. My name is Ben, and as always, I am here with my co-host Nate.
Yeah.
And today we are going to talk about sort of what it was like to do the first year of the podcast and where the podcast is going to go, and give the whole season a sort of epilogue. But before we dive into the future, let's take a brief pause and appreciate some of the past year's greatest Words About Books moments.
Next time on Words with Books.
Words About Books is a poorly written podcast.
Nate, who are we? You didn't. You forgot to say who's talking.
Quaesats Cataract.
Thucydidean. Why don't you just look it up?
Because it's less funny. Romanticizes Siboa.
Dietmar Arthur Were. Fair?
I believe you mean an archivist.
An archivist, yes. I think the next one's the Dragon Emperor.
It's actually called the Dragon Republic. I don't know if you're making fun of me or not. Capgras syndrome, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I know how to spell it, so shut up.
Society.
De exorcismis e supplicationibus qui bastum.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
I don't speak Italian.
Probably Latin.
Now go wash yourself in the Sea of Stories.
Aslan?
Ashland. I think that's English.
You too, Ben. Even more richer.
You gotta accent the syllable. Cassia Ferry. Acacia? Acacia?
Rabin?
Raban. The Charon. The Sharon. The Charon?
Charon? Ergo. Coitus. Freeman?
Fremen.
Colwahad. UA's lover.
White.
Charon. Count Faring.
Benring.
Galena. Galena.
Channy. Oh, it's actually the Orange Catholic Bible.
Get the fuck out of it. The Freeman.
Fremen.
Saddle ropes.
They're called reins. What the fuck is wrong with you? Saddle ropes?
Lucius Secunda.
Here's the second.
Whatever. Hercule Poirot.
God,
Who's appeared.
No.
Poirot? Poirot?
Poirot?
Poirot.
Ponyo?
Poirot. Poirot. Poirot.
Porat?
Poirot. 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 Poirot.
Poirot.
Poirot. Edited what his actual name is later.
Hercule Poirot.
Poirot. Freeman.
Fremen.
Whatever. Thalia?
Foliot.
I'm gonna mispronounce her name. Faila.
Failure.
Failure. Bonthan.
Bothan. They say that one in the movie.
Yes, Salamari?
Do you really not know how to pronounce that word? It's Yggdrasil.
Tales of Symphonia Light.
You said Akbar, right? Stupid book on audio, and it's on Audible.
Premonitory symptoms. Premonitory. God, I'm dumb.
Does your version of the book not have a glossary and pronunciation guide at the end?
I don't do this shit. What is his first name?
Duke Lagrange. Grange. I don't know his name.
Are you struggling to remember his name?
Nisha, right? Not Alton Brown. That's the Cooking Network guy.
4-Man and Monkey Boy. Chongin.
There's no N. You keep saying Chongin.
Whose actual name is Leland something?
Mudra?
Mudra. Is it Nanjing or Nanking?
Chup.
Choops.
Who the fuck is the author?
I didn't write it down.
His name is Chungin, I think?
God, no, do not say Chungin.
Brissette, or Brissetti.
Karen Brissett.
Cottam Shut?
Oh my god, I forget his name. Mycroft.
You forgot the main character's name.
Oh, sugar. What's his name?
Mr. Sengupta. Sengupta. I keep wanting to call him Chungus.
It was really good, except for the part where you forgot every character's name.
Rage by Bob Wood.
Shadow Legend.
We're ready for the big leagues, Raid.
It is Raid, isn't it? This is a struggle, Ben.
To start at the beginning, Words About Books launched a year ago in January of 2020. What an auspicious time to launch any endeavor.
Those were the good old days, right?
They were very briefly good days.
I went on a Disney vacation in January 2020. That was back when you could like go outside of your house and like people could congregate.
Yeah, more importantly, back when people had commutes to work and they listened to podcasts.
Fuck, yeah, you're right. Shit.
Yeah.
It's all gonna turn around in 2021.
Yeah, so initially, if you stuck with us from the beginning, you might know that Words About Books was conceived solely as a book club podcast, where each month we would read a book and discuss it. And it is still that, but we've been trying to do a little bit more with it lately, and trying to release more frequently, and not just focus on books we read together.
Yeah, like StarCraft.
Yes.
Your favorite episode.
My favorite episode. Or the retrospective thing we did where I told you about all the books I read and made you feel inadequate.
Yeah. You actually did that twice, but we had to cut the first one because it went on way too long.
Yeah.
That was something else we learned. No one has time to sit down and listen to a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, we shouldn't do feature-length podcasts. But we wanted to tackle broader topics in the hobby of reading and writing. So we've been doing a lot of that with episodes like the Deep in the Crease stuff, the Dune movie, the American election extravaganza, the Shadow Out of Nate. There's been a handful that were kind of experimental, and as I've said before on the podcast, it's not that we want to get away from the book club or anything. It's just that we have a lot of ideas, and we wanted to do weekly content because people seem to stick around for shorter, more frequent episodes versus the very long, in-depth, on a single subject ones. We're going to be doing more of that. We're going to be releasing weekly, still reading one book a month, and if that book does happen to be 4 episodes, then that'll just be the month. But if not, we've got sort of a reserve supply of things to talk about that we can use to fill in the gaps, and we're open to suggestions, as always, in terms of what those episodes can and should be, and if anybody has any ideas or anything they'd like us to cover, we're super into it. So, I don't know, Nate. What do you feel like talking about? This feels like another freewheeling episode to me.
I wanna briefly give some airtime to my attempts to shill out the podcast to people I know. I'm fairly certain my parents were interested in hearing my opinion on Dune, and I told them where to find the podcast, and I'm pretty sure they never listened to it.
Okay.
And then I told a friend, like, hey, have this podcast, just wanted to let you know, like, no worries if you can't get around to listening to it. I'm not going to feel bad. And the response I got was, yeah, no, I don't think I can handle that. Unless you're really funny, but, like, I can't imagine you being really funny. So it went from, yeah, I won't feel bad if you don't listen to this, to like, oh, I'm gonna make you feel bad. I'm getting you, Nate.
Yeah.
So I don't really talk to them anymore.
Your parents?
No. My
The friend.
parents did not insult me. The friend.
Yeah. As far as like shilling out the podcast or advertising it goes, I haven't had as many problems as you have. I've had a harder time keeping people I know from listening to the podcast. And I think maybe that's
the more noble endeavor.
Well, no, I was going to say maybe you should cultivate an aura of I don't want anyone to listen to it, and then they'll want to know what you're hiding.
Yeah.
I did tell my mom, and she did listen to it. She listened to all the episodes, I think, and she was pretty positive about it. My sister listens to it. I have a couple friends who listen to it, but the biggest hurdle is, everybody in America has a podcast. So it's like, well, we also picked a not super popular topic for podcasts. In some ways that's been good, in some ways that's been bad, I think.
Yeah, it allowed us to get better over the last 7 months without anyone ever seeing us.
Well, I was going to say, actually, in terms of like growth in numbers, I think while like video games are more popular, it's a super oversaturated market. And not that there aren't book podcasts out there, but they're not, I don't know. I guess I haven't seen as many book podcasts doing like Duke Lagrange or Marked or
is that our niche? Is that what we're gonna do from now on?
Well, that actually is something I kind of want to talk about.
How we're getting away from indie books?
We're not getting away from indie books, but we are going to handle them differently. They're
not going to be our weekly book club or our monthly book club episode.
Right. So one of the other things we noticed is that among the few people I'm in contact with who I know have tried to read along, they don't read as much or as often as we do, and they don't want to read something they're not going to love. The books people have responded to most are
Dune and Star Wars and sorcery.
Star Wars.
See, Star Wars is third place if you want to combine both episodes.
I don't.
And I do, to prove a point.
What is the point?
The point is, Nate is right. Shut up.
That we should cover more Star Wars?
Goddamn right.
Well, we have discovered that people respond to recognizable names.
Yeah.
I actually haven't gotten much feedback on Dune. I wasn't even going to say Dune.
Oh, good, because it's probably most people quit after the first 2 episodes.
But no, I was going to say people responded a lot to Head Full of Ghosts, Agatha Christie, Lovecraft. Lovecraft, I think, mostly because they were short stories, and it was easier to jump in and read along with a short story. People did not want to read books they hadn't heard of that didn't have catchy names. Poppy War also...
Poor Marked.
Poppy War did okay for the people who gave me feedback, but they said, interestingly, I don't understand this feedback actually. They said that our episode on Head Full of Ghosts made them want to read Head Full of Ghosts, but that Poppy War sounded too depressing.
Well, I understand that. What's not to understand?
I thought Head Full of Ghosts was depressing as well. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was more engaging than the Rape of Nanjing.
But Poppy War was, I guess... I guess the end really sucks the air out of the room.
The end just completely deflates you.
Yeah.
And then it just goes on to a Nazi-style World War II lab, and it ends with genocide. It's just a series of downers.
Yeah, Poppy War, I guess, was a weird one. But I still want to read the sequel, so we'll see about that. But, yeah, going along with that. So I don't want to make people read books that they're not going to enjoy. So we're going to keep the book club episodes kind of more mainstream, more popular books, and
With one exception.
What do
you mean, what's the exception?
Nobody's going to read that.
I know one guy who read it.
Nobody's going to read that. I know people who have read individual stories. I don't know anybody who's read it.
I know 2 people who've read it besides us.
We're going to try to keep those mainstream. We're also going to start including more short stories. We're going to start... and I think I'm going to put the short stories I'll give you advance notice of. They're not just going to come out like some of the bonus episodes do. So I'll try to give advance notice on the blog and on Goodreads for everything we're going to be reading on upcoming episodes, if you want to follow along. But what we're going to be calling the book club is just going to be the 12 books we read over the course of the year that we specifically recommend people follow along with us on. Do you have any thoughts about our book club, the successes, the failures? I mean, I know you just want to make this a Star Wars podcast.
Actually, I don't really care about Star Wars, but I do... I guess I enjoy talking about Star Wars, despite the fact that I haven't liked Star Wars since, in the 1990s? I guess Star Wars has some fun games. That's where Star Wars is really good. No, as far as our monthly book clubs, I guess my thoughts are I'm glad we've figured out to make them shorter and usually fewer parts, trimmed down, more focused, and not sounding quite like shit anymore. It was a learning process. I had a hard time re-listening to probably every episode pre-marked, maybe even pre-Dune, because I think Dune was when we start chopping down the individual episode lengths. Because you go back to the fold, and it's a 2-hour episode or 2.5-hour episode.
The fold goes on way too long. Yeah.
It goes on too long. And it wasn't one that people like. Peter Clines isn't a very well-known author as far as I'm aware, right? He's not he's not super popular number one author.
What is number one? Where does this come from?
I don't fucking... Shut up, Ben. Ergo, Ben.
Another inside joke no one gets.
Yeah, because no one listened to that fucking episode because it took 2.5 hours of their fucking lives.
The ironic thing about all of that is, as we're sitting there talking about all these books that need editing, we're producing these 2-hour, 2.5-hour long podcasts that suck. And we did finally learn our lesson in that summaries are tough for us.
Yes.
That's the biggest sticking point about doing the book club episodes. It would be one thing if we really thought everyone had read the book, but I doubt that is the case. Though, the episodes that have done the best, I do think are books people most likely have read, though they didn't necessarily read them along with us at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anyone read Marked from our...
Well, no, I mean, but Dune, Agatha Christie, Terry Pratchett, those are the biggest episodes in terms of how fast they grew. And those are probably the 3 most well-known books we've covered on the podcast. So I think people come to the podcast, they look for a book they have read, or they see we've done a book they've read, and they're like, oh, I'll check that out because I'll get it. But we want to make it interesting for people who haven't read, and in order to do that, we need to do some baseline level of summary. We've done it both ways. We've gotten way too granular and way too sparse. And it's a delicate balancing act to find how much summary is good summary. But that's probably my biggest regret with Dune Part 1
That we spent an entire episode having to lay the groundwork so we could even talk about the fucking thing.
I just don't know how else to do it with Dune because, like,
I think that one's more on Frank Herbert.
Yeah, I was gonna say you saw like David Lynch couldn't crack that nut either. Like, it's just a tough thing because Dune, you need to front load all that information, but
our problem was we didn't have me with my face over a starry background fading in and out talking into the mic. That's where we went wrong.
What we did do though that I enjoyed and I'd like to do more of is the skit type stuff where we reenact a certain scene from the book. And like cuz Momo recently animated one of our skits, and it was fucking hilarious. I've probably watched it 5 or 6 times. Like, I'd love to do more of that sort of thing, especially when it's a book that is kind of well known, and we can play on our common knowledge. That's going to be one of the challenges going forward, is trying to figure out how much we should be summarizing on Words About Books. And I've heard it both ways. I've heard people who like it when we talk extensively about what happened in the book, and I've also heard people say that we're going way too much. Like, we cannot just be reading the book to you.
Oh man, well that's going to be really hard when I do my book review of Goodnight Moon. I don't know how to talk about that book without first summarizing which objects you're saying goodnight to.
Or indeed the concept of a farewell.
That's true.
Yeah. There's a lot
That's a whole... Man, we're going to have to dig into, like, language.
Yeah, Goodnight Moon is a dark book when you really think about it. And I do.
I think it's... Yeah, I think it's about, like, someone passing away, right? They're saying goodbye to everything, and they're going off into the afterlife.
What does the moon symbolize?
We're getting ahead of ourselves. That's going to come later, though. we don't want to give too much away now.
Yeah. Give us a tweet if you would like us to do in-depth discussions of children's books, as if I were in a college course trying to impress my professor.
Yeah, I hope someone actually tweets you now, because we're gonna have to do this. But yeah, no, I realized that our episodes were too fucking long when I told a friend, like, hey, will you give us downloads? And they're like, yeah, I'll download them and maybe I'll listen to them later, but like, God, that's like, I listened to some of your shorter episodes. Those were fine. It's fucking, this one was 2.5 hours though. It's like, yeah, maybe we ought to shorten them.
Boy. So what other adventures have we had making the podcast? What other things do you look back on and regret?
Well, Ben, do you want to try something? I don't know how well this will work. You can cut it if it doesn't.
Okay.
Will you name every book club book that we read this year and summarize it in 10 words or less?
Will I what?
Name and summarize in 10 words or less every book club book that we've done this year.
Let's take a look.
Oh, don't cheat.
Well, I have to look at what they are.
Well, that's cheating right there. Do you not remember each of our books, Ben?
Okay, I won't look. Okay, so the first one was Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. Don't even need 10 words. More Star Wars content.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
The next one was A Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. To summarize that, like Avatar, but with opium and genocide. Okay, now it's gonna get tricky.
Yeah, the pre-Dune time.
Bruce, How to Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way by Bruce Campbell?
Yep.
How to Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way probably is the best summary of that book. The summary is the title. So I'm copping out there. Oh boy. Okay. Head Full of Ghosts. Is that next?
Mm-hmm. You
Okay.
don't have to do it in order. If you
I'm trying to do it in order.
to make it easier.
Head Full of Ghosts by Peter.
Not quite.
By
Starts with a P.
by Paul Tremblay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
you can cut this to make it flow better.
I'll cut the long pauses.
Yeah, make yourself look like a genius.
I
just came up with those.
I don't think there's any way to do that. Maybe I'll edit in some like Jeopardy's music. Okay, Head Full of Ghosts in 10 words. I'm gonna do it in 5. Possessed girl, maybe not possessed. Oh, also reality show. There.
I was gonna say Nate hates Karen Brissett. That's
That's definitely what I think everybody took away from that book. Oh God. Okay, now what's the next one? Is it The Fold?
It is The Fold.
Okay, The Fold by Peter Clines.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm like, is his name even Peter? What is anything?
What even is reality?
Okay, The Fold by Peter Clines in 10 words or less. Oh boy.
It's bad.
Smart guy gets involved with portals and demons.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Don't ever. What did I tell you? I think I told you never to say that to me again.
I didn't think you'd remember that.
Yeah. No, I did remember that because it was also my first instinct when you said it this time. Oh God. What comes after that? Marked?
Yep.
By Sarah Fine.
Sarah's so fine.
Yeah, you did that the first time.
Dr. Sarah Fine.
Yes. So, urban fantasy, romance.
Plus boobs.
No. Urban fantasy, romance, near future, supernatural, vampire, not vampire things. They're 10 words. They're not a sentence, but they're all you need to know. Then what did we do? Dune?
Yep.
Dune by Frank Herbert. I think I only need 3 words for this. Ben's favorite book. There, read it. Moving on to...
Here's where you edit in those Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh, God. What the fuck came next? Dune. Did we do Agatha Christie right after Dune?
We did.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought there was something else in between that. Okay. So The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Roger Ackroyd gets murdered. Hijinks ensue. Then Sorcery?
Yep.
By Terry Pratchett.
Sir Terry Pratchett.
Yeah. Wasn't Agatha Christie like Dame Agatha Christie?
Oh, I don't know. Was she?
I don't know. Probably. I gotta imagine if Terry Pratchett got knighted.
Yeah. She was Dame Agatha Christie.
Okay.
Dame Agatha Mary Clarissa Christie.
All right, then. So, for Sorcery by Terry Pratchett, all-powerful kid realizes wizards are dicks. Then what came next? Did we jump right into Lovecraft?
We did jump right into Lovecraft.
Okay, so I think you would actually be better served to give me 10 words for The Shadow over Innsmouth by H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, I could summarize all of Lovecraft if you want. Lovecraft is bad. Nate loses his fucking mind.
No, do Shadow over Innsmouth. 10 words.
Architectural sexual fantasies. Brief excitement. Passes out on the street.
that leads one to a very different story, I think. Okay. Mountains of Madness. 10 words or less.
Supposed to be good, actually really bad, goes on forever.
Pickman's Model.
Hey, you want to go to my creepy warehouse?
It was more of a gallery, but okay. Cool Air.
Lovecraft fails to understand air conditioning and anatomy.
That's the most accurate one yet. Okay, and then after Lovecraft, did we jump right into Duke LaGrange?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Duke LaGrange, how do I sum this up?
Flawed from the ground up.
Space cowboy crash lands on planet, nothing happens.
Bickering ensues.
Yeah. Funny book, not actually funny.
I thought there would be more jokes.
Not the worst thing I've read all year, but damn close. Okay, and then after Duke LaGrange, was it Haroun?
It was.
Okay, wow, I feel like there was
Yeah.
more. Okay, Haroun in the Sea of Stories. Okay, abandoned child goes on a magical journey.
Mom leaves, gets railed, comes home.
That was Soraya's journey, yes.
And it was a magical journey indeed.
Yes. Okay, I did it. Yay.
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if I could name all the books I read this year. I don't know what that says. Do you ever feel like a pressure to remember everything you've ever read?
Yes.
I feel like nobody ever gets mad at you for forgetting scenes in a movie or something, but I feel like I'm supposed to remember everything I read. And when I don't, I'm like, oh my God, do I have dementia? Am I going insane?
And the answer is yes. Yeah, do you want to give a preview for this season and wrap up this episode?
Not a very exciting episode, was it?
Yeah, they can't all be winners. But add some musical cues. If you want, I can go upstairs and drink a little bit and get drunk on air, like.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do that, and then if I don't like it, I'll cut it. So yeah, I'll just remind the audience once again, if you have ideas, if you have anything related to books or writing that you would like to talk about, or you would like us to talk about, let us know. I know one thing, just to give you an example of what I mean. I'm interested in talking about writing fiction in new media. One thing I absolutely love is people who tell stories with Twitter accounts, like fake Twitter accounts. They do fictional stories, alternate reality games that take place over multiple social media platforms and YouTube
Talking
and stuff.
portraits of 1998 video games.
I don't know what that's a reference to, but yes.
StarCraft, your favorite.
Oh, okay. It didn't really play the campaign. I got to emphasize that.
Yeah, everyone, go download that episode for StarCraft. You don't have to listen to it. We don't know if you have or not, but go download it. If we get enough downloads, I'm going to try and force Ben to play the campaign on a stream.
Oh, God. Oh God! You know what? We'll do it if people want that. I will do it.
Oh yeah, now everyone go download that episode.
It's just gonna be like 50 downloads from Beep City in Kansas. So, I guess with that, we do have some thoughts on what books we want to take a look at next year.
Yeah, get that energy. I'm pointing directly at the camera that doesn't exist, Ben. Let's do this.
Okay, what are we reading?
All right. So this month, January of 2021, we're going to be reading Ben's favorite book that he's ever written and then published. That's right. We're reading Edenverse. It's actually the only indie book that we are going to be reading for the book club read-along episodes.
Yeah.
You can read that for free on poorlywritten.ninja, or you can pay 99 cents on Amazon and support us.
Yep. I wouldn't really recommend. I mean, you're presenting it like a binary choice. Not reading the book is also an option.
No, you have to read along with us.
You don't.
Ben would love the extra exposure. He loves it when people talk about Edenverse. Out in the open, in broad daylight, where everyone can hear him.
Did you guys ever, like, write something or draw something or do some kind of creative work like a decade ago and then look back at it and think, whoops. That's Edenverse.
All right, Ben, what are we reading for February, the month of love?
Yes, also the shortest month. We will be reading Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. And I have a brief confession to make. I have actually read every book in the Twilight series except Midnight Sun. So this will be me completing the saga. And I know I'm just going to want her to rewrite every other book from Edward's perspective.
Oh my God.
It is going to be a little weird for the love triangle. But
I have read none of the Twilight books, and yet here I am.
I was Team Jacob for most of it. I gotta be honest. I do not like the Cullens. I think they're creepy. And not because they're vampires, but because they're like adults all living in the same house as a family. I don't
and
like
pertain to be like minors. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, you're really dwelling on the legal aspects of this, and I'm telling you.
Yeah, as one should. So yeah, that'll be a good episode. You should read along with that, so you too could be informed. If you like Twilight, Ben will probably say some nice things, and if you hate it and think it sucks, I'm your man. We'll probably approach it like that. That's how I see that playing out.
I have to defend Twilight.
There's a little bit for everyone.
I want to go on record to saying I don't like Twilight. I don't
Oh my God.
I don't recommend it, but I did read it.
Traitor.
I will tell you what.
Betrayal.
Okay, I'll defend Twilight. I'll take no, we'll do this like a debate.
Okay.
I'll defend Twilight.
All right. Well, in March, here's a book I think neither of us will be defending.
Yeah, do you want to see my Lovecraft?
Yeah, here it is. It's Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
I have heard nothing good about this book, and I hate 80s nostalgia.
Ben, I have a question for you. Are you going to spring for the Audible version? It's narrated by Will Wheaton.
No. Why in God's name? Like, okay, look. I don't know Will Wheaton. I don't really know anything about Will Wheaton other than he was in Star Trek. And you know what? There were a lot of annoying characters on Star Trek, so I'm not even going to give him that much shit for that. But one of the things Will Wheaton is not known for is his soothing voice. Why in God's name would I want to hear Will Wheaton read
Because this
book?
isn't the type of book that you want a soothing voice for, Ben.
This is the type of...
This is grit. This is real, Ben. They live in stacked up trailers, Ben.
Okay.
The real world has gone to shit, so you gotta go into your World of Warcraft, Log Horizon, Sword Art Online machine, Ben. You need only Will Wheaton and his unsoothing voice can convey the real world to you.
Is it supposed to be gritty? I thought it was like a comedy.
I think it's a piece of nostalgia where a guy goes on a quest and gets some things and becomes the hero and gets the girl.
Is it true he essentially just republishes like 5 pages of the War Games script?
I haven't read the entire book. I tried it because my friend, ironically, I actually shouldn't say friend, but ironically, the guy who told me to read The Fold, he first told me to read Ready Player One, and I got to the point where he was talking about like, oh, I was this guy in the movie, and I had to recite every single line perfectly. But thankfully, I watched this movie 2,000 times, so I knew all. I'm like, oh God, you need something like a life. I don't know, man. That book. I'm sure this will be your Lovecraft, but I'll have probably a similar opinion. But everyone should read along with us. I'm selling that. That book club aspect.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he just released a sequel, so I don't think this is going anywhere. And this was a very popular book at the time. I do remember a lot of people.
Hey, maybe people who already read it will tune in.
They might. And then they might tune back out. Anyway, I don't know what we're reading in April.
Well, you've picked all the books. Tentatively. I mean, these are subject to change. Do you want to put something on the board right now? I've got Starship Troopers, The Dragon Republic, or the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
Starship Troopers.
All right. What do you want to say about Starship Troopers? I watched the movie.
I've seen the movie. I understand the book is not as satirical. I'm actually a little afraid to read this on the podcast. I'm afraid we're reading like a fascism.
Yeah, then we can talk about that. It'll at least give us some good material.
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I've always been interested in reading the book. I never have. I know this book was actually part of one of my college's lit courses, but for whatever reason, I didn't wind up getting to take that course. But ever since then, it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. So I want to check that out, and I'm interested. That's all I could say. I don't want to comment anything before I read it because, like I said, I've heard it might be propaganda. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
So in May, I've decided to do a horror book, and that's going to be Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, and that's a book my wife picked out, and so I'm going to honor her wishes, and of course blame her if it turns out to not be all that great. What do you want to do for June, Ben?
Let's do The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I know it's technically horror, but I feel like it might also be a little funny from the tone. I'm familiar with Grady Hendrix mostly through a book I talked about briefly on An Evening with Ben and Nate episode. Grady Hendrix is the one who wrote Paperbacks from Hell, which was a collection of real life. It wasn't a collection of these books. It was sort of like a cataloging of terrible horror paperbacks from the 70s and 80s. And so I think I'm vibing pretty well with Grady Hendrix. So I'm interested to see what his fiction is like.
I tried to actually stay away from sci-fi for the most part because I knew we did so much of that this year. But on that note, Star Wars Dark Force Rising is the book in July. So you're welcome, Ben. You're welcome. We're getting through this fucking Thrawn trilogy. If it kills you,
we're gonna monetize this podcast one clickbait title at a time.
fuck yes. And speaking of that, I've got August as well, and I'm doing the Game Grumps book. So that's the Ghost Hunters Adventure Club and the Secret of the Grand Chateau by Dr. Cecil H. Mills, which is just Aaron Hansen in makeup.
I'm actually fascinated to do the research for this one because I'm dying to know who actually authored this book.
You don't think it was Aaron Hansen?
I think it could be Aaron Hansen, but I don't know, and they haven't talked about it, and there's a lot of creative people that work for Game Grumps, and so I'm not sure if it was like a collaborative effort or if one of them just had this on the back burner the whole time. I'm interested in this book. The marketing totally sucked me in. So
it did its job.
I have a feeling though, this is going to be one of the ones that I'm more interested in the story of its writing than in the book itself.
All right. What are we doing for the next one?
June!
Yeah, that's September. We're doing Dune Messiah. Just in time for the movie.
The sequel that everyone, literally everyone, everywhere was asking for. I mean, to our podcast, not to Dune. Nobody wanted this sequel for Dune. It actually pissed a lot of people off.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to get into that. That's interesting.
Yeah, no. Actually, the original editor of Dune did not like this book.
Okay, well then, for the month of October, we've got Ben's horror bullshit. I assume you don't know what we want to do for that, but stay tuned. Is that accurate?
All I'm going to tell you guys right now is I'm still planning this one out. I'm thinking it's going to be 4 short stories, possibly 3 short stories and a novella. We'll see. And what I'm saying is it should be light reading that you should be able to pick up fairly quickly. I'm going to try to focus on spotlighting 4 different authors. And I'm thinking I want to do 2, I don't want to say classic, but like pre-modern authors, and then 2 modern authors. And by modern, I mean like currently writing, published within the last 20 years.
Stephen King?
Stephen King might work his way in there. I think it is probably time we talked about Stephen King. But maybe just a little, because Stephen King is basically a topic in and of himself. So that's what I'm planning for the horror stuff. I will let you guys know what's going on definitely by like August.
And then November, Ben. You've also got some fantasy horror.
Yes, I want to do one more sequel. I want to do The Dragon Republic. I actually bought a signed copy of this book.
Oh, wow.
I've been planning to read it ever since we read the first one. I just haven't had the chance to read it outside of the podcast. And so I think we both wanted to read it. You could tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth.
Yep, I wanted to read it.
Okay, so we just decided we'll go ahead and do it for the podcast.
All right. And then we're going to end the year. Our December book is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, which I feel like is a nice way to wrap out the year. It looks like it's going to be a really good book. Anything else you want to talk about? Or are we wrapping up this season and starting the next one?
Yeah, I think that might just be the wrap up. If anyone has anything they like I said, if anybody has anything they want us to touch on the podcast, give us a shout out on Twitter at WABpod or our Goodreads group. That is the Words About Books podcast group.
And definitely shout out to him if you want him to stream the first StarCraft game. I'll make him do that. It will be great.
I'll tell you this. If we get, because I am going to gamble. I shouldn't say this. I should say I'm skeptical of our audience's interest in video game books. I wonder if it will do as well as Star Wars. So I'm going to say if the StarCraft book gets 50 downloads in its first 90 days, one episode, you can't combine. It's got to be one episode. 50 downloads, and it can't be you.
It won't be me.
If it gets 50 downloads in its first 90 days, I will do your stream.
Awesome. All right. Challenge accepted, everyone. Go download that StarCraft episode. Download both of them. We'll make Ben eat his words. All right. And then also be sure to check out Words About Games if you need more podcasts in your life. Make sure that you listen to our podcast first. So we need those listens. But then afterwards, you can go over to them and give them like a charity listen, right?
Is that? I guess we're just gonna do one take.
All right. Well, here's my second take. Ben called them elderly gentlemen. So if you want to listen to elderly gentlemen talk about games, it's worth a shot. Go over there, download their podcast, give them feedback, tell them to start working with me. I'll write them a shitty story for whatever game they're writing. It will be on par with the StarCraft 1998 story. So this is Nate, and that's Ben over there. Adios. Goodbye.
Later.